Welcome back. All right, so I'm not going in alphabetical order. I already saw people saying, "Oh, well, Anaheim's first of alphabetical order." No, I'm going to be doing the Pacific Division first. Then I'll do the Central, and then I'll get to the East. So I'm going to go division by division, and it'll be a random order when I go through the division. So it'll be Pacific Division teams for the next few days, and then Central. Yada yada. You guys get it. So for Islander fans, I might save the Metro for last. We'll see if the Islanders make some moves and if they get reported in time for this for their preview. So we'll talk about the Canucks because there are some interesting things with the Canucks to talk about in terms of exits. A player who hasn't exited yet. This is a JT Miller jersey I'm wearing, so we'll see if he's still a Canuck by the time that this video goes live, or by the time we get to the trade deadline. So when we look at the exits, Yarrow Halak, no surprise that Yarrow Halak is gone from Vancouver. Alex Chiasson, a bit of a surprise that Chiasson's gone, only because by the end of the season, he had won the fans over again. Juho Lammikko, Matthew Highmore, good, hardworking fourth liners, and Brandon Sutter, who may very well be facing the end of his career at this point, sadly moved on. I liked Sutter, I really did. Hopefully he's able to come back. The new faces, Ilya Mikheyev, we can all argue about whether or not he's being paid too much money, and an argument over whether he is or isn't ends with a simple fact that he is a top 9 forward. He's shown that he can score goals. The Canucks need that. Curtis Lazar, excellent bottom 6 forward coming out of Boston. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in Vancouver. Andrei Kuzmenko, who's a rookie, but kind of not at the same time. Like, Kuzmenko is 26 years of age, so what we see from him is the finished product. So I'll be interested to see if it works. I've said before that players coming over from the KHL can get overhyped. This may be another example of that. We will know, I would say, a month into the season whether or not that's the case. Dakota Joshua, the Canucks have big plans for Joshua. We'll see whether or not he ends up on the third line, fourth line, or what happens. I think there's going to be some good competition for jobs in the Vancouver roster. Walt Kalynuk's brought in for depth, as well as Colin Delia. Their goaltending tandem, Thatcher Demko, Spencer Martin, look to be the tandem unless Delia wins the job in camp, which Delia may very well be able to do. Maybe moving on from Chicago, maybe Delia gets fired up. But we'll see. Martin looked pretty good in the Vancouver net when he got the opportunity last season, so the opening is there for him to take that job if he wants it. Now, when you look at the Canucks down the middle, JT Miller's still listed as the number 1 center. The interesting thing is, of course, Elias Pettersson and whether or not they move him back to the middle or leave him on the wing. You got Bo Horvat, Jason Dickinson, who is doing his best to rehab during the summer from what was a really rough season for him, and Curtis Lazar, listed as likely the number 4 center. That center spot may change. Again, whether Pettersson ends up going in, if Miller gets moved, you name it, right? So it's going to be interesting to see if that is how things turn out for them down the middle. I like Miller and Horvat. If Dickinson has that bounce back, he can be an excellent third-line center. And then Lazar, you've got a pretty good run down the middle. Their last 5 seasons, it's been some ups and downs. 2017, 2018, they were 31, 40, and 11. They were 26th in goals for, and they were 26th in goals against. So they struggled to score or keep the puck out of their net. 2018, 2019, they were 35, 36, and 11. 25th in goals for and 20th in goals against. So their defense gets a little better. Their offense right around the same. 2019, 2020, shortened season due to the pause. 36, 27, and 6 record. 8th in goals for that year. 17th in goals against. The odd part is that it was seen that Markstrom was stealing them games. He was the reason that they were in a playoff spot. And yet the goal scoring was pretty good overall for Vancouver. Then the following season was a disaster. 23, 29, and 4. 24th in goals scored. 26th in goals against. Just the overall numbers for Vancouver were horrible. And 2021, 2022 got off to a really rough start. And then they hired Bruce Boudreau. They end the season 40, 30, and 12. They were 18th in goals for, and they were 8th in goals against this past season. And that's something that might surprise some people, but after Boudreau took over, yeah, the Canucks goals against dropped like a rock. If they can keep that up, they should be a playoff team this year. Their best month was December. They were 8-1-1, which is interesting because their worst month was November, where they were 4-9-1, and that's, of course, Green's out. Boudreau comes in and has an amazing run right out of the gate to put the Canucks back into at least contention for a playoff spot, which at the point where they fired Travis Green looked like that's a pipe dream. It's not going to happen. The channel has voted, and the Hockey Guy channel, as well as the Entertainment Guy channel voting. It looks like the Entertainment Guy voters are a little bit more optimistic about the Canucks. 7% of the Hockey channel have the Canucks first or second, 50% third or fourth. So that's 57% of the votes saying fourth or higher. So that means expectations are a bit higher for the Canucks. 36% have them fifth or sixth, and 6% just don't like Vancouver, have them seventh or eighth. 8.2k votes. So less votes for that than for Anaheim. But that's how that works when you do the polls back to back like that. You're going to get more votes on that first than you will on that last. It's fine. I don't think the percentages change very much. As you can see from the Entertainment Guy, where 8% voted them first or second, 56% voted them third or fourth. So that's 64% of the vote on that channel having them fourth or higher. 28% have them fifth or sixth, and 8% hate the Canucks and have them seventh or eighth. That's out of 747 votes. So what's interesting is a lot more votes for the Canucks than there were for the Ducks on the secondary, the Entertainment Guy channel, and a lot more votes for the Ducks than for the Canucks on the main channel. So just one of those interesting things I thought we could throw in for this year's previews. And I enjoy doing that. The cup odds currently for Vancouver, they are plus 5,000, meaning if you put down $100, you'd win $5,000. I mean, making the playoffs, sure, but a Stanley Cup, that might be a bridge too far for the Vancouver Canucks right now. Cap space is a no. There isn't any. So if you're looking at Miller and going, well, they got to trade Miller, it's going to be a dollar for dollar deal in all likelihood if it does happen. Their top four defense, I think, is going to get maligned quite a bit. But remember, they finished 8th in goals against last year, so they're not bad. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Tyler Myers, Quinn Hughes, and Luke Schenn. It is an expensive top four. Yes, the contracts for Ekman-Larsson and Myers are not great. But Ekman-Larsson played well, especially when they were missing Hughes for a couple games there. Ekman-Larsson stepped up, and I think Myers is disliked for his contract more than for his play. I think his play isn't that bad. I think that his contract is what really has people digging in and not being fans of Tyler Myers, more than anything else. I think this past season, I thought Myers played better than he had the year before. So we'll see what happens with Myers. I know there's been talk of the Canucks trying to move his contract, but good luck. And that's where it's interesting. Sometimes you'll have a player who's a good player, but he's on a contract that teams don't like, and so it's hard to move him. So unless they're willing to throw in a first, which I'm really hoping they're not, then Myers is going to be a Canuck. Breakthrough candidates, the two I put up here are Vasily Podkolzin, who had a good rookie season, under the radar, good rookie season for Podkolzin. Nils Höglander is 21 years of age. He can bounce back. He had a really rough season this past year. It's going to require him winning over Bruce Boudreau and him pushing down a guy who makes good money and outworking him. So it's possible. We'll see what happens with Höglander. Those are the two that I picked as breakthrough candidates. Their coach, of course, is Bruce Boudreau. Boudreau, of course, being talked into coming back for that second year, his first full year. And if Boudreau coaches them into the playoffs, I would expect him to stick around. Patrick Allvin is the general manager for the Vancouver Canucks. I think he's done a decent job in the offseason. Your leader in goals, well, there's two guys tied with 32 from last season. That's JT Miller and Elias Pettersson. Assists, JT Miller leads there with 67. Quinn Hughes had 60. So Quinn Hughes has arrived offensively excellent. And I will say this, Quinn Hughes defensively I thought was much better this past season than he was in the season prior. Their special teams, the lack of a power play, or lack of a penalty kill, I should say, was the storyline under Travis Green. There were points where they flirted with 50% on the penalty kill. Like, it was awful. But by the end of the season, it wasn't historically bad. It was just bad. They were 74.9% on the penalty kill. But their power play was pretty good, 23.5%. So if they continue to improve the penalty kill, and again, this is just simple math here. This is a team that if they avoid having the kind of start they did last year, if their penalty kill continues to get better, if their defense is top 10 in the NHL, they should be a playoff team. And that's the thing. It's not really necessarily about who you bump out or who's going to fall out. It's just if they play well enough to be in the playoffs, they should be in the playoffs, right? Now, expiring contracts, UFAs to watch in the event that the Canucks aren't in a playoff spot at the deadline. Of course, Bo Horvat is also a contract that needs to get done. I'm actually kind of surprised that Horvat's not done already. I would think that an 8-year extension to Horvat, or maybe 6, maybe 7, whatever years they decide to put on there, I would think that's an automatic. He is the captain of the team. I like Horvat. I know there's a split amongst Canuck fans as to whether or not Horvat should be kept or whether or not maybe they should move him. But I would personally keep Horvat. JT Miller, I've talked before. I have the Miller jersey. I would keep Miller. I would find a way to sign him. And if he won't sign, which, again, he has stated he's willing to, his agent has stated he's willing to, and the Canucks have said there's no rush. So while everybody's panicking, it sounds exactly the same as the panic around Huberdeau that was, oh, he won't sign in Calgary. He wants to go to the market. There's no way this is going to work. We can have that concern. You can have that concern with Miller, but personally, I just say, you know what? We'll see how it works out. I have seen plenty of players, I'm like, well, he's staying, and then they leave. And guys, I'm like, I don't think that's going to happen. And then, no. And where that may have changed was when the Calgary Flames brought back Olli Jokinen. After what was a disastrous run, they brought him back. And I, at that point, I said, all right, anything can happen. So also, Andrei Kuzmenko is on an expiring contract. So for everybody who said, I can't believe Kuzmenko's going to the Canucks and he doesn't want to win and blah, 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 it's a 1-year contract. So he didn't sign it in blood. He hasn't handed over his soul to the Canucks yet. But yeah, it's a 1-year deal. And he's a UFA at the end of it. Justin Dowling, Luke Schen's a UFA next summer. I think the Canucks want to keep him around. Kyle Burrows, who's been a good depth guy on the blue line. And Brady Keeper, who's had injury problems. Depth blue liner as well. And he's got an expiring contract. So it'll be interesting to see how much Horvat gets. It'll be interesting to see if they're able to make Miller's contract work, because, of course, you have to look further down the road. You have to realize you're going to have to re-sign some of your young players, and it can get kind of tough if you've got a veteran on a long-term extension for $9 million or more. The salary cap isn't going to go up substantially for at least the next 2 years. You got to be smart. So we'll see what Patrick Allvin's plan is for the Vancouver Canucks. There you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.